We have exciting news, everybody. Joe Biden wants the lawmakers to pursue action on at least another stimulus check before the end of the year. So we have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI that you have to know in this video. So continue watching because you don't want to miss out on this video. We got a ton of news to talk about, guys. Here it is. In the State of the Union address that focused largely on the economic shutdown, well, Joe Biden once again called on Congress to revitalize the fourth stimulus payment. This will come back and give us a fourth stimulus check. That's what it means, everybody. We're going to get stimulus today, soon, and probably by the end of this year. Because Joe Biden, everybody, said this. He said that he called for a number of changes to tax policy in his State of the Union address, including significantly raising the levy on stock buybacks and imposing a billionaire minimum tax. But the shout-out to the expanded child tax credit is more immediately significantly for the average American family than a tax on billionaires. The expanded child tax credit was back in 2021. It helped a lot of people out and to help families with Americans struggling financially while they provided stimulus for a long time. And the maximum benefit of the credit was increased from $2,000 to $3,000 in 2021. That's for people 6 to 17 years old. And half of the credit was given in advance, plus in monthly payments to the families to help others throughout the year, and the other half was given as part of a household's tax refund. The household with pretty much no or low income was able to receive it for the first time. And though it can take years for the policy to have the tangible effects, the impact of the credit was pretty much very noticeable, very fast. And so I believe it's pretty much right for Joe Biden to send out another one. Don't you guys agree? Parents reported using the advance payments for household essentials like groceries, clothing, schools, and utilities. And despite worries from conservatives, researchers found no evidence that the policy discouraged people from going back to work. Instead, it probably motivated people to get back to work. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, everybody, said the success of the 2021 expansion showed us that child poverty rates are a policy choice, not inevitable. And Congress failed to renew the expansion in 2021, reverting the credit back to its former, less generous iteration. It's one of the reasons that families could see smaller tax refunds this year when they file their returns, because some tax credits have already implemented their own version of a child tax credit last year to make up for the difference. Still, without this expansion, everybody, millions of people fell back into poverty at the beginning of last year. It made many people broke, and it hurt so many households. But folks, here's a solution to this. One of the biggest sticking points is whether or not the expanded child tax credit has a work requirement attached to it. Because if it does, that could be beneficial to the ones that need it the most, and the ones that need stimulus fast. Opponents believe there should be some sort of work requirement, but everybody, here's what I'm saying about this. An estimated 19 million people do not even receive the standard child tax credit because it maxes out at $2,000 per year per child. And because their parents or guardians don't even enough to qualify, they don't get the money. And eliminating child poverty is one of the biggest reasons why Biden stated his goal for the presidency is to end stimulus and to begin a fourth stimulus check. But as well as other childcare and family-friendly tax policies, it was part of his Build Back Better plan, but was scrapped what eventually became the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed into law last year. And predictability, everybody, for Joe Biden is important, because support for bringing the expansion back on the Fed level falls largely on his line. Progressive commentators have called it single biggest policy success of Joe Biden. And during his speech, Biden touted the expansion success as giving families breathing room. It did help give families breathing room, but not enough breathing room, that's for sure. So we need stimulus payments now for the American people.
There are huge responsibilities you have. They touch every aspect of people's lives. And when your constituents call needing help with a state problem or a city problem, you take the call and you get it done. You end up calling to make sure you find out how to get it done. Simply put, you get things done. You're used to getting things done, fixing problems. And that's because you know the measure of success isn't how partisan points are scored, but it's how you fix the problem. Can you fix the problem, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent? We're often told that Democrats and Republicans can't work together. And, there's always been competition. But in the last 10, 12 years, it's been particularly tough. But as I told my friends in Congress in my State of the Union address last week, I believe people sent us a clear message in this off-year election. Fighting for the sake of fighting gets us nowhere. We're here to get things done. That's why we got elected. That's always been my vision. And I really mean it's always been my vision, and I know it's yours as well. Over the past 2 years, we've been delivering on that vision. When I came to office, the pandemic was raging and our economy was reeling. But together we acted. Less than 2 months after we took office, the American Rescue Plan led to the fastest economic recovery of any major economy in the world. And I know that at the beginning of the crisis, like you did, that strengthening state and local governments was the key to our recovery. But when the CARE Act was passed, before I came into office, just before it, under the previous administration, some of you had to go to your state legislatures to get permission to use the money that was in the act. I used to be in your shoes. Only 120 counties in the United States of America got help in that CARES Act. There was a lot of money, but only 120 counties. When I signed the American Rescue Plan, it sent $350 billion for the first time in history.
Chuck Schumer is ready to use budget reconciliation process to pass President Biden's massive spending bill. But other Democrats want to include more relief into the bill before it is officially passed. This can mean recurring stimulus checks, everybody. So you want to continue to watch this video so you never miss out on the most important stimulus news. Here are some breaking news on President Biden's Build Back Better package. Democrats face big obstacles and a deadline measured in weeks as they attempt to pass a scaled-down tax, climate, and healthcare package that could give them a boost ahead of the November elections. Conversations are underway between Manchin and Chuck Schumer to negotiate a budget reconciliation bill that would require only a simple majority for passage that will meet Manchin's demands without losing support from many other Democrats. But even if legislation is written to accommodate Manchin, Sinema remains a crucial question mark. The reconciliation bill would need the support of the entire Democratic caucus in the evenly divided Senate to pass with a tie-breaking vote from Kamala Harris. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin were holdouts to earlier versions of the reconciliation measure. Sinema came to generally support the Senate framework, but only after her objections trimmed the bill from $3.5 trillion to $2 trillion, and tax rate increases were replaced with other revenue raisers. The slimmed-down measure under discussion would raise about $1 trillion in new tax revenue, down from roughly $1.5 trillion in the House-passed Build Back Better bill, in a draft Senate Finance Committee amendment. Corporate and international provisions raising roughly $800 billion, like a global minimum tax intend to cut down on overseas profit shifting, and they're expected to remain the core with a smattering of other provisions to make up the difference. Also in line with both earlier versions is the emerging framework that would produce about $300 billion in savings from allowing Medicare to negotiate certain prescription prices and other cost-saving pharmaceutical options. Reining in prescription prices has been a top priority for Manchin throughout the negotiations. Sinema last year helped negotiate the initial prescription pricing framework that was included in the reconciliation bill. However, it's not yet clear where Sinema might land on specific language, and there's speculation that she may have other concerns with the latest version. The content of reconciliation bills needs to be verified with Senate parliamentarians like Elizabeth McDonough.